I thought of doing it on 31st, but I did it before. अब सिर्फ तुम स्मार्ट लगो, तुम्हारे बाल बढ़े रहे। तुम कब कटवाओ भाई? हैं? When will you have haircut? Next, after prelims. Till that time you'll become Madhuri Dixit. Okay, so हो गया live? Okay, we'll start with questions, right? So we'll start with question and answer and try to memorize certain facts, right? So you give a heading, write the question. Okay, let's start. Question number 1, right? Okay, where did it? Okay. Consider the following statements, right? A. Kindly write it. Don't just wait. You'll get PDF, but still write it because this way you'll remember. Yeah, you can just attempt the test. Tomorrow you have to do the test, not now. Consider the following statements. A. Citizens can be distinguished from residents. Citizens can be distinguished from residents. B. Citizens enjoy civic and political rights that may or may not be available to non-citizens as well. C. Citizens enjoy civic and political rights that may or may not be available to non-citizens as well, right? C. In Indian context, citizenship is guaranteed by Constitution to all the legal residents. D. Part 2. Articles 5 to 10 deal with citizenship. Now you have, think about it. You have these 4 statements. right? Now we have the options. All are correct. All are incorrect. Only A, B, C are correct. None is none is incorrect. It has 5 options now. All are correct. All are incorrect. Only A, B, C are correct. None is incorrect. Only C is incorrect. Fine. Good morning, Pooja. Okay, kindly see. Read it again, right? It's not necessary that UPSC will give 4 options only. It can give 5, right? It can manipulate. It can give more than 4 or 5 statements. कोई जरूरी नहीं कि वो ऐसे ही दे. Fine. So we'll do all type of manipulation, cleverness, wisdom hacks, whatever we can do, so that your brain is tuned for it. अब पढ़ो. Citizens can be distinguished from residents. Statement correct है? Alone, correct है. All residents are not citizens, but all citizens can be residents. That is also not necessary. You can be NRI and still be citizen, right? So, first statement, but is correct. Can be distinguished, right? Not necessarily there is a distinction, but they can be distinguished. So, all the people who come for travel, visa, take visa for employment, travel, work, they all remain residents for that particular point of time. Yes. भाई कोई होटल में रिजाइड कर रहा 5 स्टार में रेजिडेंट है भाई, राइट? ही मे नॉट बी डोमिसाइल, राइट, बट रेजिडेंट. If people come for long period of time for employment to India, right, they may have a domicile in India, but that may not be. Domicile is mostly a legal address. We'll talk about. Don't worry. तो ये correct है. Citizens enjoy civic and political rights. True. That may or may not be available to non-citizens as well. True. No, but there are certain rights. Asylum, why not enjoyed by non-citizens? Right? There are certain rights which they can also enjoy, even fundamental rights. We are not talking about enemy aliens, we are talking about non-citizens, which can have both categories. Right? Then. In Indian context, citizenship is guaranteed by constitution to all the legal residents. Not true. Why? Because I'm legally coming to Yes. So you are residing and working. You are legal, but you may not be citizen, right? So to have citizenship, legal residence is a requirement, right? Is a necessary condition, but not the sufficient condition. So you can be resident legally, but still may not be citizen. There are a lot of people residing in India, right? Since years and years, Bangladeshi immigrants, right? They are not citizens of this country, right? So, ये aspect भी गलत है, सही है? गलत है. It's wrong, right? Right? Now, part 2, Article 5 to 10 deals with citizenship. Correct है? Right? वैसे 5 to 11 है, but 5 to 10 भी correct है. But that is also correct, no? Even if it is not 5 to 11, that does not mean it is incorrect. So even 5 to 10 deals with citizenship. So this is correct, right? Now what is the option? Only C is incorrect, right? Kindly note it. Only C is incorrect, right? Now, huh. None is incorrect. ये ये सीधे बोला जा रहा है all are correct. All are incorrect, right? When you say something is correct, means the statement is absolutely true. When you say incorrect, it is not incorrect, right? It may not be absolutely correct. वो स्टेटमेंट इंडिविजुअली इंडिपेंडेंटली पूरा करेक्ट नहीं है, राइट? लेकिन गलत भी नहीं है. आर यू गेटिंग? जैसे ये, if somebody says कि what should be the correct statement, so at part 2 deals with what? Article 5 to 11. But this is also not incorrect, but this is not absolutely correct. Fine. That is why MCQ requires a temperament. Fine. You have to become like the Duryodhan when you are dealing with MCQs. Don't be Yudhishthir. If you be Yudhishthir, you lose the track of the MCQ, right? MCQ manipulates you. Fine. ये clear है? आगे बढ़ते हैं. Fine. Second. With respect to the state citizen relationship, which of the following, which of is or are, right? There can be more than one. Which of the following are correct? Right. With respect to the state citizen relations, which of the following are correct? Right? Is, are correct. State has the right to award or state has the right to award or terminate one's citizenship. The state has constitutional and legal obligation towards citizens. The state has constitutional and legal obligation towards citizens, but neither moral or social. The state has constitutional and legal obligation towards citizens, but neither moral or social. Nor social. See, in Indian context, the state follows the law of jus soli than the law of jus sanguine. while while defining citizenship. D. Defining citizenship. Provisions in the Constitution do not define citizenship but provide the various forms and modes of citizenship. Fine. State has natural or equal obligation towards all categories of citizens whether now see with respect to the state citizen relations which of the following are correct. Okay. E option. Which are correct. Now option. You write it once. You've written. Answer options. Which are correct. Only A, B, C. Second. Only D, E. Third. All. None. Which are correct, right? It's not saying what is the answer. Only ABC, only DE, all, none. When you say only, means there may be other correct also, fine, but the option is not giving that option. So let's see. Your answer is ABC. Okay. Anybody else's answer? What's the answer? Only D, E. Only DE means other may not be correct. Right? If it is DE are correct means DE are correct along with others. Right? Puja, okay. 3. 3, 2. Third है all. All are correct. Okay, let's see. Come to this side. With respect to the state citizen relation, which of the following is a correct? State has the right to award or terminate one's citizenship. Yes, right? Quite obviously, unless you are a citizen already. Now there are several ways to have citizenship, right? For example, naturally you are, don't say naturally, but yes, you are part of that by birth or you are there, right? Then, so as the commencement of the Indian Constitution, for example, takes place, right? You are a citizen, you are already there, and you will be citizen. Then you can be citizen by birth. Birth means your parents were citizen. Now you are born, right? Between a time frame, then you are a citizen, right? Then by descent. Descent is your parents were Indians, right? But you are born outside somewhere. And then because your parents or either parents were Indians, right? Or maybe are Indian, you will have an option to be Indian. So even if they are today Indians, you will be treated as Indian. Right? Then birth, descent, naturally while being citizen, then by acquisition of territory, right? By registration, by naturalization. Naturalization means you technically become a permanent residence, right? So as you become a permanent resident, right, you actually become equivalent to anyone else. Fine. Even though naturalization and by registration, they are not treated still equal to the citizens because they are imposed with certain conditions. If you are registered or if you have to be registered as a citizen, then what is the condition? Registered. Registered as citizen. Hmm. 7 years. 7. How? 1. Hmm. 14 years. No, no. To apply, you should at least have 7 years. Then, if you want to naturalize, 12 years, 11 years, plus 1 year consecutively, 11 years in total, right? Naturalization. This was the debate, right? When in 2019, when the Citizenship Amendment Act was done. So from 11 years requirement, right? They reduced it to 6 years for people from or the minorities from certain countries. Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan. So minorities from that countries. That means they were the people who were Buddhist, Christians, Jains, Hindus, whatever Parsis. So they were minorities there, and for them the requirement was reduced. This was challenged. Obviously, that has been challenged. So logic was that only that you cannot discriminate only on the basis of religion. That will violate the Article 14 and 15. So that is okay, fine. So let us say you can award the citizenship. This statement is not absolutely correct, but it is not incorrect, right? Correct. Now you've understood the logic of PYQ, or sorry, of MCQ. So it is not absolutely correct, but it is not incorrect, right? So it can be taken as correct. The state has constitutional legal obligation towards citizens, but neither moral nor social. Correct है, incorrect है? To an extent, it is correct. Why state, right, has legal obligation? What is the state? State is a legal system, no? What is moral obligation of the state? Fine, but that too also in a legal. You cannot simply go and start crying before the state and say, "Okay, bhai, fine, I am your citizen and I need this and kindly give me this." So state does not act morally, right? A state is not immoral, but it does not act morally also. Its requirement is the legal procedure. So state has constitutional and legal obligation, right, towards citizens, but neither moral nor social. Now see, what is the drawback here? State does not have prima facie first instance moral obligation, right? But state also cannot deny having moral obligation. ये यहां तक सही है. Correct? Try to understand. State has constitutional legal obligation towards it. Correct? But neither moral nor social. This is not totally correct. Right? If we use the statement, if we change the statement and say the state has primarily legal obligation, right, which may also be visible in the form of certain moral and social obligations. Fine. DPSP creates a lot of moral and social obligations, right? But that prima facie does not guarantee the any other aspect of type of moral act that the state will perform, right? So state will not act purely on the basis of moral or social obligation, right? You see, try to understand social obligation, triple talaq. Now, state had to work through a procedure. The state cannot simply jump into your personal law and say, no, 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 I have a social obligation to change things. It does not have, right? Prima facie, in the first instance. So this statement partly correct, but this part is not totally correct, right? It cannot totally absolve the state from moral obligation. तो इसको हम सही माने गलत माने? नहीं, गलत मानेंगे, क्योंकि एक पार्ट ही तो सही है, पूरा स्टेटमेंट जब लिया जाएगा तो वो गलत है. You're correct. No, no, you're totally right. This part is totally correct. But the nature of the statement indicates that state has no moral obligation. This is illogical. Right? You cannot say कि भाई कोई moral है. Political, legal तो prima facie the first instance they have. Right? But that does not mean they don't have any moral obligation. Right? Good governance is moral obligation. Welfare is moral obligation. Being ethical, non-corruptible is moral obligation. Right? Or it would have, if this statement would not have actually indicated that state is completely free of moral obligation. This statement actually indicates that state has no moral obligation. Right? So if the statement says the primary obligation of the state is legal and political and constitutional, right? That is correct. But that should also be performed under some moral and legal premises. Ethical premises. Then it would have been totally correct. If the statement said primary obligation is this, right? But there are moral and ethical obligations too. Then it is correct, right? So one part totally correct, but this part is not absolutely correct. That is why, on doubt, we keep this statement as incorrect. Right? In Indian context, the state follows the law of just solely than the law of just enjoin while defining citizenship. Now see, what is it? Right? Basically, the nationality or the criteria for citizenship at birth. Yes. Nationality or the basic premise of citizenship at birth is just solely. Those who are born will be citizens, right? Those who are born automatically become the citizen. The primary criteria for giving citizenship is that the person should be born here, right? That is why I give the example, the Rajiv Gandhis, the female who blew up or who was there. I think what was her name? That very popular case is there. Right, I'll tell her name. So she was directly found involved in that, the killing of Rajiv Gandhi, and she was put in jail and she was pregnant when she went to the jail. Her child was born. Now that was a debate which started, but she was treated as enemy alien. So a foreigner, anybody whose child is born here, right, can have automatically his son does not become the citizen of this country, right? Any foreigner, anybody, right? Nalini, yes, correct. So the Nalini was named, yes. So it's a famous case also. So it is impossible to give all the rights to the child of a person who is not treated as a friendly alien or even a foreigner, right?
She's a legal migrant, sir. In that case, when there is a provision in like citizenship, either of parents shouldn't.
No, no. See, that comes later on. Okay? That does not. That was not the original provision. Try to understand. We have several amendments to the Citizenship Act, 1955, right? Which was amended in 1995, correct? 62 and 92, correct? 3, 2005, 2019, 15B, yes. 5 में जो OCI status आया, 99 में जो PIO status आया, सब amendments हुए. So what you are talking about is the later amendment. When we put certain conditions, right? That either of the parents should be born. Then later on, we put the conditions that both the parents should have Indian nationality or Indian citizenship, right? Then by birth you will be Indian citizenship. Or if your father or anyone is married or the spouse is not Indian, right? Then also you can have the citizenship at birth, but provided that spouse is not an illegal migrant. So conditions are put, right? So what is happening now? See, we started with this concept. The Constituent Assembly supported this idea. When citizenship provision was being provided, this was the basic principle we followed, the principle of jus soli. But with subsequent amendments over a period of time, what happened? We have shifted now. As you see the provisions of uh, Articles 6, 7, 8, right? Or provisions for foreigners, provisions for determination of foreigners, or for naturalization, registration. When you see these provisions, right, you realize that this may not be a dominant provision now. So, as subsequent amendments which have been done to the Constitution, they have created now the ground or dominance towards jus sanguine. Just conjoin is a principle which talks about that citizenship or nationality would be decided not by just birth, right? Or the primary criteria would not be just birth, but blood, right? So, blood, that means people who actually belong to this country. Are you saying? You have confusion? One criteria is that your child or somebody is born here and becomes a citizen. That is called jus soli, the land or law or doctrine of the soil. So you're part of this, you're born here. We said, I was born here. So you relate yourself to that land, to that particular territory, right? To the soil. So that was the criteria which we had initially in the Constitution when we started off, right? Based on that, Citizenship Amendment Act was made, 1955. When, over the time when we made changes to that act because of so many factors, right? Immigrants, infiltrations, right? Includes ancestors also, correct, right? That is, so it is quite obvious that when these changes took place, then we said, no, now the criteria will not be just your birth, right? Your lineage, your relationship extending to this particular nation should also be there, right? So now it has shifted more towards this provision. So can we say, right? Can we say The Indian context, the state follows the law of jus soli, then the law of jus sanguinis, which defines while defining citizenship. See, now the statement is not correct. Earlier, this statement was correct to be true, right?
In this context only, if the state will not give any, if we in preference now state has more neutral like just or just saying हमें वो कंप्लीट वो कर नहीं सकते ना
नहीं, but see, जो provisions है ना, whatever conditions which are imposed now, right? They indicate right. See, okay, I'll talk to you later. See just now. So when you're saying ki how to balance, yeah, both are balanced. It is not true. See, when we have when we accept someone to be citizen naturally, right? The fundamental principle is birth. You are born to Indian parents, right? You are citizens, no doubt about it, right? Why? Because of what? You are the blood of an Indian, not just because you're born in this territory. You can be born anywhere, right? But because you're blood of an Indian, right, you may be treated as citizen. Right? Now say, let's say, this is normal, this should happen. Now when people who are born after 87 or 71 to 87 in this country, right, after 87 to 92, now there are conditions which are imposed. That means technically when you are born, you are not automatically a citizen unless your both the parents are Indian citizens or your mother or father, whosoever, right, is not an illegal migrant. So are you enjoying that citizenship just by birth? No. Right? You are enjoying that citizenship just not by birth, but because your blood is that of an Indian parent. If that was not so, right? Even if your parents were Indian at some point of time and you were born here, right? By birth, you should be given the citizenship. Understanding? But that is not going to happen now. That is only one of the criteria.
we are following the post just only and just only.
No, we followed this only, right? But as the amendments have taken place, now we have moved towards this now. Who is a national now? Who can be claimed as having the nationality, the the blood of nationality, right? See, try to understand. When can anybody be appointed prime minister in India? Can a naturalized citizen be appointed prime minister of India? Hmm? Why Sonia Gandhi was not? So try to understand, right? For certain offices, president, we cannot have those people as appointments to those offices who are citizens by registration or by naturalization. You cannot, right? Will the refugees be ever allowed? The lineage of the refugee, will they be allowed ever to become? No, they will not. Right? To certain political offices, I'm not saying to contest election, they can. But they will not be, yes, by birth only, correct? So those people, right, who can occupy the most important political offices in this country are those people, right, who are citizens by birth only, or technically by blood only. Understanding? That is the idea. Rajiv Gandhi was eligible. Sonia Gandhi is not. Right? So even though she is a citizen, no doubt, naturalized or registered, fine, but that is not citizen by blood, lineage. राइट बर्थ दोनों केस में बर्थ होगा ना अरे फॉरेनर है या इंडियन है उसका बच्चा बॉर्न हुआ तो वो भी इंडियन मदर और इंडियन फादर नॉन इंडियन मदर फॉर एग्जांपल द चाइल्ड इज बॉर्न सिटीजन है राइट बट कंडीशंस आर देयर both are Indians, child is born citizen, and simple, no condition is there. Are you getting? So from now on, as the amendments have been done, right? It was realized that having that lineage or bloodline is more important than being just born in this country. Both are important. Try to understand. See, it is for so many people who are in this country, right? Not just Rahul. But you can say logically, yes, that logic applies to Rahul Gandhi. Fine. So you can say that are we following only this? No, we started with this. And we have now somewhere moved towards this. So the question is trying to, or the statement is trying to say, right? In Indian context, the state follows the law of jus soli than the law of jus enjoined, which while defining citizenship. Now that statement is not correct. It says that prominence is given to that then compared to this, which at present circumstance is not correct. Right? If this statement would have said, yes, the law of jus soli was the guiding principle of the Citizenship Act or the citizenship, while yes, the provisions of citizenship were initiated by the Constitution, correct? Right? Both are there. Try to understand, right? But one or just solely may not be considered to be dominant than just sensual. Yes, that is the statement. May not be considered dominant. Yes, if it was said that both are used, yes, correct, both are used. Right. So this may not be totally correct. Provisions in the Constitution do not define citizenship but provide various forms and modes of citizenship, yes.
Amendment Act does define this,
But not the Constitution, no.
but it would be the CCA, then we could.
If it is written, yes, Citizenship Amendment Act, right? Or for that purpose only, Citizenship Amendment Act has been made under Article 11. So Parliament by law regulate the provisions or modes of citizenship regulated by law of the Parliament. That would have been correct. State has a natural obligation, equal obligation towards all categories of citizens, whether already existing or those who acquired it formally, right? Not correct. Why? Yeah, we have talked about one, correct? But for all developmental welfareistic purpose, yes, it is, right? But not for every aspect the obligation is there. Yes, right? So see, whenever the state does a kind of review of citizenship status, then the first people would be those who have been naturalized or registered, not who are by birth, right, or by descent. They will not be reviewed first. So this may also not be fully correct. So see, E is not correct, right? C is not correct. B is not correct. A is correct. So what is the answer? Out of this, A, B, C, no. B and C are not correct technically, right? Only D and E. D is correct. E is not correct, right? So this option also becomes useless. All, none, ये भी रॉन्ग है क्योंकि कुछ तो, राइट? तो ऑप्शन क्या है? कुछ नहीं है as per this logic, right? There's no option. Okay?
But in exam,
Obviously, in exam you'll have. I'm just so this is just to manipulate you, no? How will you learn then? So you may not have any option here as per this. If you want to give an option, then you can say A only, right? Or only A and D. That will be the option. So you can say yes. Actual option क्या होनी चाहिए? Only A and D. Okay, so let's take what is Lekha Shri? What's your doubt? What was the doubt? अरे क्या है इसमें डाउट किया पीछे थोड़ा move it little. First statement: the state has power to issue citizenship by law, but does that equate with rights, sir? As there are obligations to fill. Yeah, correct. See, the logic is here that is citizenship status permanent or absolute with you? No. It is a provision, or it is a legal provision, or the power of the state through which it can give you citizenship. Right? That is one part. The second is the state which can give you citizenship, right, can also terminate the citizenship. So, in general, this statement is correct. It is not talking about different categories, right? It is giving a general statement that what is the right of citizenship. Now, see, because you are born to Indian parents, you have a right. You automatically become the citizen, right? But let us say you do something against the state. Will the state still give you citizenship? No. You can go and appeal in the court. That's okay, right? But state has the right to restrict your movement, right? When the state terminates someone absconding, when the state terminates or under the international law indicates somebody is enemy of the state, right, or sends the lookout notice through the Interpol or red corner notice through the Interpol, the state denies him all the rights of the citizens, right? So Vijay Mallya and all those people can say we are citizens of this country. They are not actually. But if they say they are, I am citizen of this country, right? Acceptable. But if the state wants, the state will restrict your citizenship rights. So what will happen? Your citizenship can be terminated by the state. Obviously, there are certain conditions for that. But statement is correct. Who can terminate? State can terminate. So you may not have an absolute right to citizenship, right? Though, obviously, like I said, people who are born to Indian parents or Indian citizens already, they have relatively better rights compared to others. Yes, they have. Right? Fine. Is it okay? Lekhashi, is it fine? Can you just scroll it down? Right? So don't be confused. First, focus on question. As you do questions, you'll understand it. Right. Third, okay, likhe. Assertion. OCI and PIO do not guarantee OCI and PIO do not guarantee citizenship status, right? Now, the dominant principle the reasoning. OCI and PIO do not guarantee a citizenship status, right? The dominant principle of a right to citizenship is law of jus sanguinis. Now, who is an OCI? See, when the amendment was done in 1999 and 2005, so we accorded, or the government realized, to provide the status of PIO and later on OCI to people from certain countries, people who are Indian diaspora. Right? Diaspora means Indian who are living abroad since generations. Right? Now, PIO status was given for what purpose? It is like a multiple entry visa system. You don't have to take visas every time you come. If you're staying, obviously, for all those people, by who are those people? People who are of Indian origin, try to understand, of Indian origin. That means their race, their blood would have been mixed over a period of time. Fine? And but their ancestors, technically, if we trace them to 4 generations back, they would be found, if they're found to have Indian bloodline, 4 generations back, they will be treated as a PIU. Except people of certain countries. कौन थे? कई कंट्री थे, हाँ, पाकिस्तान है, बांग्लादेश है, अफगानिस्तान है, श्रीलंका है, नेपाल है, एंड लाइकवाइज, राइट? Certain countries were there. So they would be given a PIO status, obviously just to interact or become integrated to this diaspora, right? Or become part of the Indian nationality, sorry, Indian culture, right? They were provided certain benefits. They could come and stay for as long as they want, but if their extent or if their stay at one go is more than 180 days, 6 months, then they have to register themselves with Foreign Registration Office, FRO, right? And likewise, right? The government has to check the immigration status. They are subject to do that. Obviously, they can have educational, financial, banking, and so many other benefits which citizens are having, right? But obviously they don't have right to vote, they don't have right to contest to political offices, they also don't have right to acquire agricultural land, and likewise they can acquire certain properties commercial. Similar things with OCI, right? The only difference is the OCI was given to all the countries of the world, or to all the citizens of, all the uh, erstwhile, people of India, right? But except Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Afghanistan. Technically, you can say the primarily the countries which were born out of India, right? Plus, obviously, Afghanistan, dominantly. So Pakistan and Bangladesh mainly, it was for restricting. So overseas citizenship of India does not give you citizenship. It only gives you status. So PIO is more restrictive than OCI. First understand that, right? OCI is not like a multiple entry visa system, right? It's like a lifelong visa system. You understand that? PIO status was given for 15 years. OCI status is lifelong. You can do the similar things. Fine, but you don't need to re-register from the Foreign Registration Office. You don't need to check your immigration status with the government, right? Again, you cannot acquire agricultural property, cannot contest election, you cannot vote, and likewise. Same restrictions are there, fine? But it was realized later on that OCI and PIO, or PIO is basically a subcategory of OCI with the restrictions on the countries. So 2000, technically 19 onwards, they have merged it, right? Now, both are OCI only, right? But in case we say that PIO and OCI, who are these people? These people have Indian origin. That means, what is that Indian origin? Is it birth or it is the blood? Blood. See? Now, question says, or statement says, OCI and PIO do not guarantee citizenship status, correct? The dominant principle of right to citizenship is law of just enjoying. To be true, right? Is this the reason for this? If this is the reason, then they would have given them, right? जस्ट सोली होता तब तो ये स्टेटमेंट जो है माना जा सकता था कि करेक्ट है, राइट? इफ यू फॉलो द लॉ ऑफ जस्ट एंड जॉइन, then technically, right, you would have been given the citizenship status because somewhere you may belong to the bloodline of this nation. Correct? Are you getting? Both these statements are correct. Yes, but that is not the reason for this one. So when you look at these kind of options, prima facie you realize कि correct है, but ultimately correct नहीं होता है. So A's assertion is individually true, correct. Reasoning is individually true, that is also correct. But is reasoning the correct explanation of assertion? No, that is not correct. Fine. Okay. Right. Fine. Fine. Now you write. Consider the following statements. Consider, simply you can write, which is are incorrect. Is are incorrect. There was no concept of citizenship before 26th November 1940 B. So consider which are incorrect, right? Is are incorrect. Fine. So there was no concept of citizenship before 26 November 1949. Fine. Right. Article. Article 5 to 8 confers citizenship right, to all categories of persons of persons, right, who were domiciled or born or whose parents were born in India at the commencement of Constitution. Article 5 to 8 confers citizenship to all categories of persons who were domiciled or born or whose parents were born in India at the commencement of Constitution. C. Domicile is an important criteria for citizenship. Domicile is an important criteria for citizenship, though it is not defined in the Constitution. D. Right. Domicile by birth or residence can be changed can be changed by a person can be changed by expressing the intent, though it would not impact the citizenship status citizenship status ordinarily in the first instance. Right. Domicile by birth or residence can be changed by a person by expressing the intent, though it would not impact the citizenship status ordinarily in the first instance. Fine. D. E. It has 5 statements now. Right. Right. A person loses the citizenship ship of India automatically when he or she acquires ship of another country voluntarily or deliberately. A person loses the citizenship of India automatically when he or she acquires the citizenship of another country voluntarily or deliberately. Correct. Fine. Tell me now. Okay, which one? आ जाओ भैया. Start from the beginning. Consider which is our incorrect. There was no concept of citizenship before 26 November 1949. You tell me this way only. Incorrect. Incorrect, correct. करेक्ट है ये. क्यों इनकरेक्ट है? इंडियन सिटीजनशिप कहाँ था? ब्रिटिश. विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू इंडिया ही बात हो रही है ना अभी. फाइन. और भी तो ऑप्शंस देख लो ना कि विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू इंडिया है. दैट्स अ कॉमन सेंस, राइट? दे आर नॉट टॉकिंग इन जनरल because when they've used the word commencement of the constitution, right, or 26 November 1949, this will be with respect to India only, no? So we were British nationals, suzerainty of the British, the dominion status that was given, right? 1935 एक्ट में सिटीजनशिप की बात हुई, बट दैट सिटीजनशिप वाज नॉट द काइंड ऑफ सिटीजनशिप which we enjoy today, right? So the idea emerges only when the constituent assembly is created and the commencement of the constitution takes place. तभी तो citizenship as a provision becomes now enforced, right? Most of the provisions got enforced on 26 November 1949. Rest on 26 January 1950. Correct. So there was no concept of citizenship before 26 November 1949. Right. This is correct. Right? That is why we are referring to so many books, right? So that we can exploit you, right? Article 5 to 8 confers citizenship to all categories of persons who are domiciled or born or whose parents were born in India at the commencement of constitution. That is correct. 5 to 8 mainly deals with, now you can remember this way. 5 to 8 mainly deals with what people? People who were part of the India at the commencement of constitution, right? People who migrated from Pakistan or came back, went back, again came back, right? Provisions deal with them. Then people who were outside India or who were born outside India but their parents were Indian, right? People who were residents of India ordinarily for 5 years before the commencement of the constitution, right? Basically, who were not born in India, right? They could have been born in technically in Pakistan, are you getting? And they would have come back and they would have resided here, or people who were not Indians technically, right? But they wanted to remain now as part of India. Let's say some British officials, but ordinarily residing in India for the past 5 years, right? He would be allowed to be a citizen of this country, right? Hmm? People who are not born in this country, but who are residing in India for last 5 years, right? At the commencement of the constitution, right? If they are willing, they would be treated as citizens of this country, right? So many people who were residing outside but were born in India, so their children who were born outside India, they will be treated. Those who migrated to from Pakistan to India, they will be treated. Those who were part of India, they will be treated, right? Try to stand. And those who were residing in India for continuously 5 years, right? Or ordinarily all means it does not mean that every day, but on and off, if they were for 5 years in this country, then also they will be treated as citizens of this country. So 5 to 8 deals with that. Article 9 deals with what? Right? It basically deals with this now. Come. So 5 to 8, correct, deals with this. Domicile is an important criteria for citizenship, though it is not defined in the constitution. It's correct. Right? So domicile by birth, your parents' house where you are staying, or domicile by residence where you move and permanently acquire a property, right? But it is not defined in the constitution. Domicile by birth or residence can be changed by a person by expressing the intent, correct? You want to buy a house, a property, a job somewhere, and you're trying to move from one place to another. Though, right? Though it could not impact the citizenship status ordinarily in the first instance. Correct? If you are moving within the territory, it doesn't matter. Right? But if you're going outside the country and then you tend to settle down permanently somewhere else, right? You may be domiciled outside the country. Still, your citizenship status will not go away unless you acquire the citizenship of another country. Right? Unless you do not meet the legal obligations of being a citizen. Correct. Fine. So this statement is also correct. A person loses the citizenship of India automatically when or he she acquires the citizenship of another country voluntarily or deliberately. Yes, Article 9. Now, how can a person lose his citizenship? Right? Technically, one where he renounces his citizenship. Three methods है, ठीक है? Renunciation. Renounces his citizenship. He says that, okay, no, I don't want to be the citizen of this country, right? and acquires citizenship of another country, right? But he renounces it first. Try to understand. Here, government plays no role. He renounces it himself. Then it can be terminated by the government. Right? On certain grounds, the government can terminate his citizenship. Then, if he deliberately or voluntarily acquires the citizenship of foreign country, because India does not provide dual citizenship. So the moment he acquires the citizenship of another country, right, the government will ask him to submit the Indian passport, which he has to do. If he doesn't do, then there is a punishment for it. The government will not leave, will not allow him to denounce that citizenship. Are you getting? So if he acquires the citizenship of another country, foreign country deliberately, right, automatically his citizenship gets terminated or extinguished. The rights of citizenship remain extinguished. समझ में आ गई? आप deliberately मना कर दो हम नहीं है, right? और government terminate कर दे. There's a will of the government, or you acquire a citizenship and you don't submit a passport, then also they will not deny, they will deny you the rights, but they will not allow you to acquire the citizenship, right? If you have acquired it deliberately in some other country, then automatically your rights gets extinguished here. Now, as per this question, what is the correct answer? All of the, eh? None of the above. Correct. Question kya hai? Incorrect. Correct. So, if you have an option none of the above, yes, it is. Right, this will be the correct answer. Right. Fourth and fifth. Let's see. Right. Consider the following. Consider the following. Just give me 1 second. Okay. Consider the following. Okay. First statement. NRC or or National Registry of Citizens is an exercise to determine the demographic data of distinguishing between citizens and non-citizens. In India, the first NRC exercise was conducted in 1951. See, while NPR right? NPR is a purely NPR is a purely statistical exercise. NRC is a legal procedure. कोई भी illegal नहीं है, but it is more a statistical exercise. It's more legal procedure. Fine. D. The data from first NRC and census 1981 is considered as a legacy data. NRC or National Registry of Citizens is an exercise to determine the demographic data of distinguishing between citizens and non-citizens. In India, the first NRC exercise was conducted in 1951. While NPR is a purely statistical exercise, NRC is a legal procedure. The data from first NRC and census 1981 is considered as a legacy data, right? Now, which is our incorrect? Only C and D, only D. Only B and C. Only C. Fine. So you have these statements, right? NRC or National Registry of Citizens is an exercise to determine the demographic data of distinguishing between or distinction between citizens and non-citizens. In India, the first NRC exercise was conducted in 1951. While NPR is a purely statistical exercise, NRC is a legal procedure. The data from first NRC and census 1981 is considered as legacy data. Right? Now tell me the answer. Which of them you have heard about? And obviously, some will talk about current issues, we'll talk about a lot of things. Many facts you'll know there, right? Not all the facts are needed now. But as of now, you've read current affairs, GS, whatever. In general, you've read newspapers. Something you know. Only D. Okay. What about others? Shatsang, you have any views? Okay, let's see. Not to waste time, the purpose is you should know. NRC, you know, National Registry of Citizens, right? What it is an exercise, obviously, to distinguish distinguish between citizens and non-citizens, right? Correct. In India, the first NRC exercise was conducted in 19. Correct. It was the first and only technically NRC conducted. While NPR is a purely statistical exercise, NRC is a legal procedure. Yes, NPR is like maintaining the registry or register of the people in this country, right? Whereas NRC is what? It distinguishes the citizens from non-citizens. So it is more legal procedure. No,
Just a relative concept, right?
no,
Yeah,
but
so we do the
it's,
overall.
see, try to understand, you are maintaining a register of people who are coming to this system, right? You are maintaining a special register for people who are students of this system. What is the difference? Yes, one is for distinction within your own population. Try to understand. One is only to calculate or categorize or statistically verify your population. So NCR, NRC basically discriminates within the population. And NPR only what it does, it registers accounts for the population. There's a difference. So why will you discriminate between, by caste census क्यों होगा? Census census है, but caste census क्या है? Yes, it tends to have a political, right, legal, and some other tone. It has purposive, it has certain specific purpose of distinction between your own people, right? So there is a specific reason for that. So NRC is a legal procedure. Yes, बहुत कोई भी illegal नहीं है, right? But ये बोलता है कि भाई ये basically authority of law है यहाँ पे, या authoritative, some role, administrative purposes here, right? The data from first NRC and census 81 is considered as legacy data. What is legacy data? Correct. So census 1971, जब इंडो बांग्लादेश वॉर हुआ, right? A lot of infiltration started in that phase, especially from 1966 to 71, then 79 to 83. Lot of movement of immigrants or migrants from Bangladesh to India took place, right? Especially through the porous borders of Assam. We share around what kilometer of boundary with Bangladesh? Bangladesh is a landlocked country. Right? A major part of its boundary, international boundary, is shared with India. What? What kilometer of boundary we share with? 1500. Okay. What length of boundary shared by Assam with Bangladesh? 267 kilometers. That's a very porous boundary, right? And that was the reason that why large scale migration or migration from Bangladesh to India took place, and it was supposed to be almost around 10 million, 1 crore people. As the language, ethnicity, color, race, many things were similar, it became very difficult for the government to identify it. So there was now protest which started in Assam. All Assam Students Union, ASU, right? It started the movement, protest against this. And it was obvious that yes, because of this, the natives or the people of that state were becoming minorities themselves. You know, that was a huge population, right? That is what Assam we are talking about, right? So in Assam, Assam was worst affected by it. Tripura is also, but see, the extent, the width and length of Assam is much bigger than that, right? Assam technically connects with the other states, right? The northeast with the other states. So see, it faces the bigger impact. It had a lot of similarity with West Bengal, right? Even Tripura, you're right? वहाँ भी Bengali speaking काफी है. So, but the Assam got affected more. So large scale exodus from Bangladesh to India. Protests started. The students started protesting. right? Which obviously led to a lot of conflict, violence. Then ultimately, Rajiv Gandhi comes to power, right? Or while Indira Gandhi being in power, because already we had talked about, see, there was already a British provision, or you can say already a law made, the Foreigners Determination Act 1946, right? So under which the foreigner tribunals could be created, right? 1967 में रिव्यू हुआ, फिर एक foreigners act orders or foreigners determination orders were created, right? No, 46 का law है, right? Law was 46, right? Then 60 or 66 में ये review हुआ, the same law, and it was authorized by tribunals were created under this foreigners determination act, right? Tribunals were created. But what happened, because Assam was a specific case and a lot of unrest was there in Assam, right? It had a big boundary with Bangladesh. The and obviously there was vote bank politics and so many other politics going on, right? So it was realized that okay, the ASU, right, which protested against this, which politicized the issue, right? It realized that okay, there must be a separate method of determination of these illegal migrants from Bangladesh to Assam. Compared to the Foreigners Act 1947, right? They should have a separate act for Assam only. So Indira Gandhi, there was a historic accord, right, between Rajiv Gandhi and ASU, Assam Accord, right? But before that, Indira Gandhi obviously agreed to having a law, right? That was IMDT Act 1983, Illegal Migrants Determination by Tribunal Act, only for Assam. It was for other states also, but it got implemented only for Assam. Illegal Migrants Determination by Tribunal Act 1983, which became operational in 1985, when historic Assam Accord was formed between Rajiv Gandhi and the ASU. Now, this was a very typical failure, right? This was a big failure, right? Later on, it was obviously Supreme Court found it ultra virus. Supreme Court revoked these tribunals. Again, it was recreated, again revoked, right? So, why it was revoked? See, it had very typical provisions. I think out of 37 authorized tribunals, only 19 became operational in that state. Others were not. It was for other northeast states also, right? But it did not become operational there. It had lot of abstract rules, abstract provisions to determine the illegal migrants. Right? For example, you will see a humorous provision was there, which said that a person or if somebody has to be proved as illegal, then there must be an accuser, right? And there must be accused. The accuser must not be residing far away from the accused. They should be residing within 3 kilometers of the same radius. And they should be residing under the same thana, which is illogical. What kind of provision is that? So somebody first has to accuse someone that he's illegal. Then he can accuse only when he's residing at 3 kilometer radius. And then he can accuse only if they are both under the same thana. Understanding? And now the burden of the proof is on the government. So those who have accused that someone is illegal, right? They have the burden now to prove that he is illegal. How illogical that would be, right? So any illegal migrant or immigrant, right? He can very easily leave that place and go. The role of police was also doubtful. Right? Police was basically given the order. District collectors had the power to create tribunals to determine it. So district-wise also tribunals could be created. But irrespective of that, the deportation could not take place. Why? Because of these weak provisions. Accuser, accused, same thana, 3 kilometer radius, right? And they should inform the police will verify, and the responsibility is on the accuser and the police to establish it. So it couldn't do anything that it wanted, right? So that is why, because of that, in 2019, or the Home Minister, when he comes, he talks about that we will initiate an RC again, right? It becomes a controversial issue, right? Because maintaining a register for population is fine, right? It is just like accounting the people who are there in the country. But creating an NRC exercise is distinct from maintaining a population register. Understand? Because that would be intended for some administrative or executive action, deporting the people who are not citizens or who are not legal migrants. Right? That was the idea. That is why amendment needed to be done. Fine. So you can say कि भाई ये जो 71 में जो सेंसस हुआ इंडो पाक बांग्लादेश इंडो पाकिस्तान वॉर के बाद, राइट, बांग्लादेश फ्री होने के बाद, और जो उस समय एनआरसी का डेटा आया उसको लेगेसी डेटा बोला जाता है. व्हाई? बिकॉज दैट विल बी द एक्चुअल डेटा नाउ व्हिच विल हेल्प अस डिटरमाइन what has been the scale and magnitude of infiltration in this country, right? तो इमिग्रेशन या लीगल माइग्रेशन, इलीगल सॉरी माइग्रेशन या इलीगल इमिग्रेंट्स कितने आए, ये इसी से डिटरमाइन हो सकता है ना भाई. बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट ऑलरेडी अग्रीड कि भाई 71 से पहले जो भी आए दे विल बी गिवन द स्टेटस ऑफ सिटीजन्स, राइट? ऑलरेडी देयर इज एन एग्रीमेंट टू दैट. Fine, but it was again question कि why 71 till 71 you are giving the preference to people in Assam, to the migrants in Assam, when it is 1949 for all other people under the Citizenship Act. But you see the provisions which is given under the citizenship. तो अगर आप 47 के बाद आए हैं और 19 जुलाई तक you have come 48, right? Then you can go for registration, right? If you are going between 48 to 49, if you are coming, then you will be determined by the Foreigners Act 1946. कुछ समझ में आया? You don't have to remember all this. That is just a story, right? You just have to know कि भाई 71 का डेटा और जो फर्स्ट एनआरसी हुआ उसका डेटा को लेगेसी डेटा बोला. Finish. Prelims is part memory, part understanding, nothing else. If you get into the detail, then you'll never be able to qualify. इसलिए उसको छोड़ दो. जब डिटेल चाहिए, then we'll talk about it. So let's say only D, right? Which is incorrect. Only D is incorrect. And that too, only this fact. Else is correct. Fine. So this was question number 4. Fourth था, fifth था? Fifth था, ठीक है. See, takes time. Question number 5, 6. Okay, right. Fine. Which is our correct with respect to inner line permit. To inner line permit. Fine. It is a kind of verification and a temporary authorization to citizens to within move within their own territory in some restricted areas. Some restricted areas. It is a procedure for exclusion and not inclusion. It is issued by state governments or administration, mostly in those regions that have have their internal borders aligned with international neighbors. It is issued by state governments, administration, mostly in those regions that have their internal borders aligned with international neighbors. D. Ordinarily issued for 15 days certain conditions. Fine. Now, first you have to understand by which last follow. It is ordinarily issued for 15 days. That can be extended on certain conditions. Fine. So, what is inner line permit? It is a kind of authentication, right? A permit or a pass, you can say, correct? But authentication that is provided for the citizens of this country to access their own country or certain regions in their own countries which are vulnerable, right, in terms of something. So, reserved areas. These areas are reserved areas, they may be military dominated areas, right? They may be border areas, they may be sensitive areas with respect to certain strategic locations, right? Strategic installations, strategic locations, likewise. So you require for that ILP. That is correct. ILP is issued by state government. That is also correct, right? ILP as of now, ILP and POPC. For example, generally, if foreigners want to visit, then passage or permit of passage is given, right? Not inner line permit. Understanding? Foreigners who want to visit those places are also allowed, right? But through a different pass, first of all. Secondly, they are not allowed to go too close to the borders. Citizens can. Why? They may be employed, they may be doing research, they may be working, educational purpose, there may be so many reasons for that, right? And they may be allowed. So they are given ILP, whereas they are given POP. Fine, you can understand. In many countries, these provisions exist, right? But you see, when these ILPs are given, right, the primary purpose of restricting the movement of the people is what? Is to exclude them, not to include them. So people may say that, okay, permits are given so that they can be access those places, right? But no. Why the access is through the permit? Because they want to exclude as many people as they want. So it is a procedure of exclusion, not inclusion, right? Fine. That logic is correct. It is ordinarily issued for 15 days and can be extended on certain conditions. Yes, if you're going for movement, travel, okay, or for some other specific work, educational research and likewise, generally it is given for 15 days, right? If you have to go beyond that, right, it can be extended to 1 month, it can be extended to 1 year, but not beyond that. Again, you have to renew it. So for whom it can be done? For people who are employed, people who are working in those regions, right? People whose presence is mandatory in those regions. So ordinarily it is given for 15 days, right? Now, so with respect to them, which is correct, right? All are correct, right? That is why it was created so that you can know what is ILP, right? Which states as of now have ILP in India or need for ILP in India? States in India. Hmm. Arunachal, right? Hmm. Correct. Hmm. Fine. बोलो. अरे मीना is in Manila. Hoof. Arunachal, Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, Lakshadweep, right? Himachal. Certain regions, right? Himachal. Earlier there was Ladakh also, right? The Leh region, but now it has been revoked. So, Arunachal, Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, Lakshadweep, and Himachal to an extent. Fine. So you have this now. Many of the other states are also demanding for it, right? They also have sensitive border areas, and likewise, वह यूपी नेपाल से है, वो भी sensitive बोल सकता, मैं भी sensitive हूँ, and likewise, right? So Pakistan, Gujarat है, Rajasthan है, many regions are there, Punjab है. So yes, it gives a lot of power to the state. It gives a lot of power to the police, right? Military, especially. That is also not acceptable. Right? So local administration of police and generally military gets lot of powers, and this is problem. Fine, you understood this? Fine, okay. Or you can get a break. Fine, you want a break? 5 minutes. Take 2:30. So 5 minutes break we can take. Then we can do one question and then we'll start with fundamental right.
Mandatory for public servants and central.
See, anybody who is not already authorized will have to take it. When public servants and they are already authorized, their movement is authorized in that particular area. So you see, the law it is for citizens. They are also citizens. Right? So public servants who are not working there, they are citizens. They are not working.
हम कैंडिडेट मीडिया बोलते एनीवे आ जाओ हाँ जी मुझे चाहिए हाँ नहीं बस बिल्कुल ना एक्चुअली क्या अच्छा अच्छा हाँ नहीं अभी
Okay, everyone. So today we are closing now only the class, right? First of all, because these students have taken a little longer break. That is not the reason, but reason is obviously that uh, today there is a small celebration for Reena ma'am's birthday, right? So we would be now joining them, right? We have a next class after that. So don't worry, we have to increase the extent, but we'll do it slowly. Hopefully, till now, whatever we are doing, you are able to understand, right? As you know, our method is different. So we'll get into facts, right? You'll know all of that, don't worry. But that you'll do through different means. So means are different, method is different, but consequence will be same, right? So don't worry. Tomorrow we can have a class and then we can have one small test, right? Especially on the app, we'll put the questions, but I will make a test on my own, right? Which will be forwarded to you all so that you can attempt, right? So we can just say goodbye today at this point. See you tomorrow again. All the best to you, right? We did questions, but hopefully we understood certain things. See you then. All the best to you.